In today's video, I want to share with you some tips on picking out a Phalaenopsis orchid at the store. Some things to look for and some things to avoid. And you know what's interesting is in preparing for this video, I went to a lot of different stores. I went to our local grocery stores, I went to some big box stores, and then I also went to some nurseries. And it was very interesting to see that even at some nurseries, the orchids were not being cared for properly. Some of them were being watered by overhead sprinklers, and they were in their decorative pots, so the water was coming down onto them, onto their crown, into the pot, and then when I pulled them out of their decorative pot, they were sitting in a pool of water, which, you know, they were already rotting just right there in the nursery. So it was kind of an interesting lesson that, you know, you might think, well, I'm going to go to a nursery and they're going to have the best orchids. But I think it's really important to know exactly what to look for so that no matter where you are, you can say, that's a good healthy orchid, or that's probably an orchid that I should avoid. All right, so let's get started with my tips. I'm just going to start at the top of the plant, what to look for, and work my way down. So the first thing you want to look for is that it's still in bud, because the Phalaenopsis can bloom for about 3 months. Sometimes I've even had them bloom for up to 4 months. But if you were to purchase this orchid with all of its blooms open, that's going to decrease the time that this spike will stay blooming for you. So try to look for one with maybe 1 or 2 flowers open so you can see what it looks like, but then buy the rest in bud. Now, something happened to this orchid when I bought it, because here in Pennsylvania, I bought this a few weeks ago, and the day I bought it, it was about 15 degrees outside. So even though I covered it with multiple plastic bags when I was taking it out, I still shocked it with that, you know, extreme in temperature, from going to probably 68 degrees to maybe 30. Even for a few minutes, it's enough to shock it and create this, which is called bud blast. So I hope you can see that in the video. It's a yellowing of the bud here has happened on the terminal bud here, and 2 terminal buds here. These are actually going to fall off. I'm not worried about that in this situation because I know that I caused it because I shocked them with that temperature. However, if you're at a store and you see that there's a lot of bud blast that's already happened, you don't know why that's occurred. You're not sure if it's a temperature issue or if it's a root issue. That's another possibility. So if you see this at the store, go ahead and avoid that. All right, now let's talk about the flower spike and the leaves. So here we want to look for the same things. We want to look for a bright medium green color, and we want to make sure it's free of any spotting. That's a sign of a virus. So if you see any brown or black spots on the flower spike itself, go ahead and avoid that plant. Look for one that is a consistent medium green, bright medium green, everywhere. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the leaves. Sometimes, especially if you're at a grocery store, they are going to be in cellophane, right? So it's almost holding the leaves up. It's a little deceptive because you don't know, is the cellophane holding the leaves up, or are the leaves actually holding themselves up? So be that crazy plant lady, that crazy plant guy, and remove the cellophane in the store. Just pull it down. You can do it without ripping it. Trust me, I always do it. So that you can see, do these flop down? Are they dehydrated, or do they stay erect? You want them to be semi-erect, okay? You want them to look just like this, basically. You also want to make sure that they aren't shriveled up. This is a sign that they haven't been watered in a long time. It's going to be a little bit hard to recoup from that. You can do it, but once again, let's set ourselves up for success right from the start. Another thing we want to look for with the leaves is discoloration throughout the entire leaf. So if the entire leaf has a strong yellow tinge to it, if there is a strong reddish purple tinge on the entire bottom of the leaf, go ahead and avoid that plant. Really be sure to stick with this green consistent color throughout the entire leaf system and the entire flower spike. Okay. Now let's move on to the most important part. And no matter where you are, no matter where you're buying your orchid, please, if you do nothing else, do this. So most of the time they're going to be in a decorative pot, 90% of the time. So that's not going to tell us what we need to know. We want to take the plastic pot out of the decorative pot. Okay, I'm gonna demonstrate this for you. Most of the time nowadays they're coming in this clear plastic, which is really nice because then we can see the root system. So let's take a look at our roots here. We want them to also be a nice vibrant green or a slightly gray green. You can see that on these aerial roots. That's fine. Don't worry if they're slightly gray green. That's only a sign that they're not fully hydrated, but it's not a sign of them being sick. It's not a sign of them being rotted, and that's what we want to look for. So say I looked at this pot and all of these roots were brown or black, and you could even tell that they were mushy. Definitely avoid that plant. It's going to give you trouble right from the get-go. So once we've done all of these things, we want to check the entire plant for pests. Now, the Phalaenopsis doesn't deal with a lot of pests, which is really nice. Number one is mealybugs, and I have seen them, I've had it happen. So let's take a look at the plant. Now, a mealybug looks like a small piece of cotton ball or cotton swab, like really, really tiny, like 1/8 of an inch. So they're going to appear almost like as these cotton swab dots all over your plant. So I want to inspect everywhere that this plant is free of mealybugs. Also look at the growing medium. If there's a lot of other plants around, like if you are at a nursery, you know, just double check. Maybe there could even be a snail in there. Once again, set yourself up for success. You don't want anything crawling on your plant, you don't want mealybugs, and you just want a healthy Phalaenopsis in your home that's going to make you happy. And two, you know, when you pick one out that is healthy, you're going to have success and it's going to make you feel good. Whereas if you picked one out that, you know, was already sick, maybe it had root rot, but you didn't take it out of the pot, so you didn't know it had root rot, that's going to be discouraging. So, like I said, probably too many times in this video, set yourself up for success with the Phalaenopsis orchid by following these tips. Alright guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope you go out and pick out a Phalaenopsis orchid because they really do bring a lot of joy to your life. Alright guys, hope you have a great day. Bye.